When President Trump was elected November 5th, I made clear that it was my hope that he would act in ways that were in the best interest of our communities, of our residents, of our neighbors, of our friends. And I said very clearly that, A, he's a duly elected president. No one makes any bones about that. And B, he's entitled to enact a policy agenda that he sees fit for the country. But at the same time, I made it equally clear that as the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey, I would stand up for the rule of law and for the rights of our residents. And when I took this job, I swore an oath to uphold the United States Constitution and the Constitution of this state. And I made a commitment to serve the people of the state of New Jersey, all 9.5 million of them. That's why today I'm announcing that New Jersey is leading a group of 18 states, the District of Columbia, and the city of San Francisco, in filing a suit to block President Trump's executive order eliminating birthright citizenship for many Americans. The executive order renders many children born on American soil without citizenship, creating for the first time a class of American-born children whose health and well-being are threatened by their own government. This is an extreme and unprecedented act, and this executive order is an assault on the rule of law. It attacks a right that is core to our nation's earliest days. It's an assault on the very text of the Constitution, a right that our nation made sure to codify in the 14th Amendment in the aftermath of the Dred Scott decision, one of the worst decisions the Supreme Court has ever issued, and following a civil war. So you got to remember, the Birthright Citizenship Clause in the 14th Amendment followed the only brief period in American history where the descendants of slaves were held, even if they were born on American soil, were held not to be American citizens. We fought a bloody civil war, and shortly thereafter enacted 157 years ago the 14th Amendment, which put what had always been the practice into the United States Constitution and deliberately took it out of the hands of presidents and elected leaders as to who would qualify for citizenship when born on American soil. But this isn't just an attack on the law. It's an attack on the very fabric of this nation, this diverse nation, a nation of immigrants. It's an attack on states like New Jersey, home to Ellis Island, in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty, that are built on the contributions of generations of immigrants. So many Americans who have poured blood, sweat, and tears into serving and defending this nation, including attorneys in this office, our law enforcement officers, military service members, our educators, our firefighters, our neighbors, our friends and families are themselves immigrants or are children of immigrants. This executive order is an attack on all of them, and frankly on all of us. And I can think of nothing better that what epitomizes to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law than to defend the rights enshrined in the Constitution against this unlawful executive order. Now, we all have personal connections to immigrants. I remember very fondly going to Ellis Island as a kid and etching my grandparents' names. By the way, it was a misspelling. Platkin was the original name. And then I stand here in Newark, where my family came, I'm sure never imagining that one day, a few generations later, I would be defending their very right to have that American experience. This is a state where my in-laws came from China. Ironically, we're going to talk about Wong Kim Ark. My father-in-law is from the same part of the countryside of China that Wong Kim Ark was from. Opened a business here. For 30 years, operated that business 364 days a year. Raised my wife and her brother, both of whom first-generation American-born citizens, who now is raising my two children just a few miles away from where those same grandparents raised my parents. That's the story of America, and everybody has a connection to that. And so when we talk about immigrant communities, when we talk about who these people are, we need to remember that they are all of us. They're not some people far away who we can demonize. They are all of us. They are who we are as a nation. So I am extraordinarily proud to lead this effort on behalf of an incredible coalition to block this clearly unconstitutional executive order. We're the first case to present our full legal briefing and argument to the court, and we hope for a swift decision confirming what we've known all along, that the 14th Amendment and the subsequent Supreme Court precedents that followed are crystal clear, that, quote, all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. There's no question that a child born in the United States to non-citizen parents are, quote, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. We know it, again, from Wong Kim Ark, an 1898 Supreme Court case that forcefully rejected the position that the executive order now advances today, one that has been repeatedly accepted by the Supreme Court in the 125 years since, and which no president, Democrat or Republican, has challenged since the Civil War. But we also know this as a matter of common sense from reading the plain language of the Constitution itself. We know that the executive order would wreak havoc and chaos. Hundreds of thousands of children who are born in this country to non-citizen parents each year will suddenly have an uncertain legal status. That's at least 420 children born every single day if this order were to take effect. The state's ability to safeguard their well-being, to provide basic services like health care and special education needs, would be thrown into disarray if these children's legal status is uncertain. I say this as a parent of 2 young children, and I cannot imagine what parents would go through, not knowing if their child suffering from an illness or as autism isn't going to get the services that as an American-born citizen he or she is entitled to. That's why our broad coalition of states is standing up to the president and defending the rule of law. Presidents in this country have broad powers, but they are not kings. We're in the state of Hamilton. We all know this. They are not kings. They do not have the power to unilaterally rewrite the Constitution. They do not have the power to unilaterally disregard our laws. That's true for Donald Trump. That's true for every president that came before him and every president who will come after him. And as an American and as the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey, I will always stand up for our residents, and I will always stand up to defend our Constitution and the rule of law when it is under attack. That is what I swore an oath to do. And that's exactly what we're doing today. The team here and in New Jersey and in so many other states across this country have worked tirelessly over many months to prepare us for this unfortunate reality.